From ABC7 News, this is a breaking news alert.
In Baltimore, so many signs of the life in a suffering city, lingering anger and defiance despite a citywide curfew that's in effect right now, and at the same time calls for a peaceful recovery from yesterday's violence. What a difference 24 hours makes. We are standing here near the intersection that was the center of so much attention here yesterday as flames broke out of businesses up and down this street here at Pennsylvania Avenue and West North Avenue. Tonight, though, the police are in place, and Governor Larry Hogan, who had promised that there would be peace and quiet on the streets of Baltimore, his word does appear to be holding at this hour. An hour ago, the curfew went into effect for the night, and up until that point, the question was whether or not it would be honored. There were people who were in the street, laying on the street at this very intersection, challenging the police to arrest them. Some of them challenging the police to use their tear gas on them. Well, we did not see that happen here. Helicopters came out and they circled the skies over the area and warned people to begin to leave the area, and slowly but surely that's exactly what happened. Now, however, behind me, we did happen to see some tear gas and some smoke bombs that were deployed here, but at this point things have calmed down. Now, let me give you a sense of what's been happening here. 20 police officers have been wounded here in Baltimore. Hundreds of people were arrested during yesterday's riots. The last totals that we had were around 230, and all of this is centered on the death of Freddie Gray in police custody. Everyone knows that story now, but there were so many tense moments on the streets of Baltimore throughout the evening, and things now appear to be calming down. We have got our team of reporters scattered all around the city tonight. I want to get things started right now with our Tom Rousey, who was literally about 200 yards behind me, who was in the middle of that tear gas and smoke storm just a matter of, what, 20 minutes ago, Tom?
That's right, Leon. Definitely within the last half hour, things got crazy out here. But right now, things have calmed down. You can see the police line behind me. That line has advanced over the last hour quite a bit from where they were before. Here's how things went down. You basically had a situation where things were being thrown at the police, including firecrackers, and eventually they fired back. And this is what they fired back: tear gas canisters into the crowd. Here's video of what was going on within the past half hour. Again, initially there were bottles being thrown at police, most of them plastic, a few of them glass. Then all of a sudden a bunch of guys at once, many of them with their faces covered, threw firecrackers at the police. Soon after that, the tear gas started coming into the crowd, and it was not long after that that a lot of the crowd that was throwing things at police did disperse. It has been a very unusual and surreal night out here. We've seen a mix of a lot of things, believe it or not, one of them being a street party.
But this is far from over.
Tonight, the governor says there are 2,000 National Guard troops and 1,000 police officers from all over Maryland, plus D.C., Pennsylvania, and New Jersey.
This combined force will not tolerate violence or looting.
Today, residents began to understand the full damage from the riots. This is the inside of the CVS that was looted and burned. There were some outbursts and more arrests, but it was nothing like what we saw Monday. Before the curfew set in, city marching bands came near the scene of some of Monday's worst unrest, sending a message
to show people that Baltimore is not what they say it is. Every kid out here is not bad. They're not bad.
This is the reflection of Baltimore City, right here. Positive black men and young ladies.
The streets became a surreal scene, a mix of protest, police, onlookers, and street party. But reminders of what happened Monday were never far away.
We're going out, making ourselves known that we're out on the streets.
There's no timeline for how long the National Guard will stay.
Our job really is to stay as long as we're needed. Really the governor is our commander-in-chief at this point.
And again, right now, at least near the corner of North and Pennsylvania, where a lot of things went down yesterday, you can see in the distance there, most of those folks you see are media. So the street is largely clear here. I can't speak for all areas of town, but I can say that calm has been restored after that wild scene you saw earlier. The police line, again, holding right here, hasn't advanced in the last few minutes. So at least here for now, things have calmed down. But even within the last half hour, they got very, very dicey. Reporting live in West Baltimore, I'm Tom Rousey, ABC7 News.
All right, you got it, Tom. Now, the city of Baltimore is under a curfew right now. Everyone was ordered to be inside at 10 o'clock just over an hour ago. And right now, the streets are being patrolled by the National Guard. Richard Reed now continues our coverage from what was the epicenter of yesterday's chaos. Rich?
Well, that was the big question, Leon. Would people obey this curfew or not? Apparently, a lot of folks didn't. We're looking east now. This is all live. We're looking east on West North Avenue, and you can see police still out there. Now, a lot of media in the street now. More media than protesters that we've seen. But as Tom Rousey mentioned, we did have that tear gas issue. They began launching that tear gas within the last 45 minutes or so, and people very, very quickly dispersed. But as we've said, they've had about 2,000 of these National Guard troops out in force. That appeared to make some difference to some folks. We also had some arrests by local police, and we also had people who took part in what they called a unity line. They would actually act as buffers between the police and protesters. So a long night indeed, but a lot of folks pretty upset this evening.
A lot of these young men just don't have anywhere else to put that anger and upset. And my fear is that if provoked by having the National Guard here, that it could get worse.
This is a barrier between the protesters and our police force to assist them or any kind of way to keep people off of them, stop trouble or prevent trouble if we can.
I guess we can get our point across by doing this peacefully. But this just shows that we can come together as a neighborhood and have a peaceful cause of respect.
And just wanted to show you the opposite direction of where some of the protests were occurring. And look at this, the street virtually empty right now. So it appears that tear gas has had some effect. But again, the police, let's wheel around one more time, Van. You can see the police are still there. They have their riot gear up. Their chopper is still flying. So this may indeed be a long night. Live in Baltimore, Richard Reeve, ABC7 News.
All right, thank you, Rich. It may be a long night indeed, but let me tell you something. What we just saw here for the first time in hours is we saw some of the police over here actually putting down their riot gear and actually taking seats. So perhaps they're getting a sense that things are beginning to calm down here. But for the business owners here in this area, many of them were looted and lost everything. And for them, the big question is what happens next. Jay Korf now takes a look at what is going to be a very, very long and difficult rebuilding process in this area. Jay?
Indeed, Lan, it has been just an awful and very difficult day for a lot of business owners. As you can see, storefronts are boarded up, in some cases closed down. This city is trying to clean up and put itself back together.
I just think it's just terrible. They shouldn't have done this.
Baltimore, still reeling, is trying to reclaim itself. But 24 hours after mayhem upended neighborhoods, desolation and destruction still define parts of Charm City.
Riots are the voice of the unheard, but now that you've spoken, what exactly did you convey? What is the message that I'm supposed to hear?
Scores of business owners are cleaning up and assessing what it will take to restore what took so long to build. Mamadou Niagando says he worked tirelessly for 3 years delivering pizzas, saving every penny so he could open up a pizza and sub shop of his own, which he did only months ago.
I invest my money into a business. Before I get anything back from it, everything went down the drain.
Rioters torched the pawn shop next door, then smashed their way into his place, stealing what they could. He says his roof was also severely damaged by the fire, so much so that he doesn't have the resources to go on.
So I guess I'm gonna have to close my store.
Baltimore will bounce back, but it will take time to heal from just one day of rage. Now, the state recently launched a website. If you want to help with maybe your time or with your money on helping rebuild Baltimore, you can. Go to MarylandUnites.org. Again, that website, MarylandUnites.org. Live in Baltimore, Jay Korf, ABC7 News.
All right, thank you, Jay. And as you know, outrage can sometimes be contagious. And what we are seeing once again is that the demonstrations are not just being limited to here in Baltimore. Here's new video from Chicago tonight. Thousands there were gathering in protest, to protest in support of Baltimore and the people here. And tonight, a gathering in Washington, D.C. as well, near the Verizon Center. That crowd also calling for justice after the death of Freddie Gray. Roz Plater live now with the latest from Northwest. Roz.
Leon, about 36 protesters showed up here. Many folks we saw months ago during the Ferguson protest. They come in, they shut down major intersections. They began that here tonight in Chinatown.
You haven't seen us in a while, but if you didn't know, we come to D.C. and we shut it down.
Bystanders that they hadn't been active in a while, but tonight they were standing in solidarity with the people of Baltimore, demanding answers in the police custody death of Freddie Gray. They emphasized this protest would be peaceful. They blocked a few intersections, they chanted, then they walked over to the White House, where security is very tight tonight because of the state dinner. They could not get onto the plaza, nor could they get onto Lafayette Park, so they staged a sit-in in the street near the Treasury building with lots of D.C. police and Secret Service nearby. The Twitterverse tonight says that there will be another of these protests tomorrow at Mount Vernon Square. We're live in Northwest D.C. I'm Roz Plater, ABC7 News.
Thank you, Roz, for that. Now, as we said, the curfew is in effect here in Baltimore, but we may not see the collective sigh of relief being taken here until 5 a.m. when it ends. In the meantime, we'll keep you posted on what we see here. Allison, back to you.
All right, Leon, thank you so much for your reporting all day from Baltimore. We'll check back in with you in just a few minutes. But still to come tonight, a bright future interrupted.
She had lots of dreams of what her future would look like, and it was nothing like this.
Tonight, the chilling letter found years after the disappearance of a young woman. 7 on Your Side brings you inside a cold case next. Tonight, Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus talked for the first time about their life since escaping from that Cleveland home 2 years ago. The women were held hostage by Ariel Castro for nearly a decade, and they have just written a book together. Berry had a child with Castro. She gave birth to their daughter during her captivity.
It was amazing because she was so quiet, and she was just the most beautiful thing.
The third kidnapping victim, Michelle Knight, did not take part in tonight's 2020 interview. Ariel Castro pleaded guilty to nearly 1,000 charges, including kidnapping, rape, and torture. He killed himself in prison a few months later. A mystery tonight now in Loudoun County. A young woman gone missing 4 years ago without a trace. The newest twist, a bone-chilling letter from the woman arriving 5 years after she wrote it. It's just one of many shocking turns in a case that continues to baffle detectives. ABC On Your Side, fighting back against crime investigator Jennifer Donnellan, takes us on the hunt for answers.
Bethany Decker penned a letter to her future self when she was 19 years old.
What she wrote December 3rd of 2008.
All of her plans were right there in black and white. Get married, have a child, start a career, go to Europe. She signed it, see you in 5 years, me.
She had lots of dreams of what her future would look like, and it was nothing like this.
Decker's been gone without a trace since 2011. Sources tell us her former husband won't voluntarily talk to detectives anymore. Her boyfriend was and still is a person of interest. And the case is further complicated by a 3-week delay between the last time she was seen and the first call to 911.
A lot of evidence, a lot of leads, they evaporate.
At the time, Decker was 21 and married. She and her husband, Emil, had a young son. She was taking classes at George Mason University and working at Carrabba's restaurant in Fairfax.
That's how she had met Ronald.
Ronald Roldan, a co-worker with whom Decker began an affair while her husband was serving in Afghanistan. Roldan moved into her apartment in Ashburn. The family says it went badly.
Well, he was physically abusive.
At the time of her disappearance, Decker was 3 months pregnant. The family didn't know who the father was. Emil Decker's lawyer says Emil knew about the affair, but still traveled with her to Hawaii to try to patch things up. However, Bethany did not show up to see him off days later when he redeployed to Afghanistan.
She's really dropped off the face of the earth.
Just months ago, Roldan, Bethany's boyfriend, was arrested in North Carolina in the brutal beating and shooting of another live-in girlfriend who had heart-pounding information.
Ronald told me that he could make people disappear.
Loudoun County detectives immediately visited Roldan in jail.
He didn't really want to talk to me, so I just talked to him.
While detectives fear the worst, Bethany's mother hopes she's in hiding.
I pray that she's out there somewhere, that she got to a safe place.
The lawyer for Ronald Roldan, Decker's boyfriend, he wouldn't return her phone calls. As for the husband, Emil Decker's attorney tells us he's willing to talk to detectives only if counsel is present. I'm Jennifer Donnellan, ABC7 News.
All right, Jen, thank you very much. Well, let's switch gears now, talk about the weather. What a gorgeous day we had today.
It was pretty out there today, and tomorrow looks even better, and then the clouds roll in and the rain for Thursday. Outside we go with our high temperature today. Made it up to 72 degrees, 1 degree above average. You can't complain about that. The record, not even close, 91, set back in 1974. If your allergies are still bothering you, like mine are, trees still in the high category for the pollen, the grasses now first cutting. Earlier today at my place, my allergies are driving me crazy, so the grass is now low, but that will continue to increase as we move through the coming days. 53 Martinsburg, Frederick at 54, 57 Andrews, head down to southern Maryland, Lexington Park looking at 55 degrees. Our forecast for tonight shows a low temperature in the upper 40s to lower 50s. Skies will turn mainly clear. It stays cool out there with winds out of the northwest at 5 miles per hour. This is what it looks like satellite and radar. It's quiet and dry around the mid-Atlantic right now, but the further south and west you go, this is the moisture that will eventually make its way to our area. It's going to take about another 24 hours, and then you'll notice the difference. Clouds will increase by this time tomorrow night. Here's the moisture associated with area of low pressure. It's going to ride up the coast, and the best news of all with this, it's going to bring us some rain late tomorrow night into the day on Thursday. All of this is out of here by midday Friday, and then our skies begin to clear. High pressure will build in behind it, and that means a really nice weekend ahead with temperatures well above average for this time of year. Here's our forecast for the day tomorrow. Bring the sunglasses. Temperatures around 70 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Winds out of the west just around 3 to 8 miles per hour. I'll take you out with a look at our extended outlook. 66 and rain on Thursday, although it's not going to be a washout. It's going to be cool and dreary. The same for Friday morning. Temperatures will be a little bit cool, about 10 degrees below average for this time of year, but feast your eyes on the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, we're talking high temperatures around 70 to 76 degrees, nighttime lows in the 50s, and I would not be surprised by Sunday we might even bump those temperatures up a little bit more, closer to 80 degrees.
Wow. Look at that weekend.
That's barbecue weather.
Can't wait to get there. That sounds great.
Almost.
All right. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, a lot of interesting stuff going on in baseball.
Yeah, up and down, wild and crazy. As a matter of fact, the chaos in Baltimore has caused major problems for the Orioles in the entire city. Ray Lewis speaks out about the issues. And the Nats did something tonight they have never done before. A historic night for the Nationals. Coming up next in sports.
And now the Toyota Sports Desk, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers.
Let's start with baseball because the Nats and Braves played a wild one in Atlanta tonight. Let me take you back to Turner Field. The Nationals were down 9-1 after 2 innings, but Washington continued to battle. It was 12-10. Dan Uggla, 2 on, 1 out, deep left field. That ball is gone. A 3-run home run. The Nationals had the very improbable win, 13-12, the largest comeback in the history of the Washington Nationals. All right, the Orioles will lock the gates at Camden Yards tomorrow. The O's will play the White Sox, but there will be no fans allowed in the yard. Not only that, and even worse, is that the weekend home series against Tampa Bay has now been shifted to Tampa. So instead of all those fans enjoying the Inner Harbor and Camden Yards Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that business will now all go to Florida. The Baltimore community is cannibalizing itself, chasing businesses away. And former Raven linebacker Ray Lewis is not happy about it.
We know there's a deeper issue. We know what the jungle looks like. But this isn't it. It's enough of us in the streets trying to change what's going on. Baltimore, get off the streets. Kids, go home. Stay home.
Ray Lewis. And the Caps open against the New York Rangers. The schedule is now set. Thursday night will be Game 1. Then at Madison Square Garden Saturday afternoon at 12:30 before coming back to the phone booth Monday and Wednesday for Games 3 and 4. There's a look at sports.
All right, sounds good. And still ahead right here, a citywide curfew, of course, in effect right now in Baltimore. We are live amid this tense situation right after the break. Today, voters in wards 4 and 8 cast ballots for special elections to the D.C. Council. It appears Brandon Todd will fill the former seat of Muriel Bowser, with all precincts reporting he has 42% of the vote. LaRuby May is leading in the race to fill the seat left vacant by the death last year of Marion Barry. She has 27% of the vote. All right, let's head back to Baltimore and check in with Leon once again. Leon, what's going on now?
Well, Allison, right now, it's hard to believe the mayhem that we saw playing out on this street just 24 hours ago. What a difference a day makes. Yesterday, we saw expressions of anger. We saw looting. We saw burning. We saw rocks being thrown. Tonight, we see a street that's pretty much been cleaned up by the people who live here and who were so disappointed in what they saw in their city yesterday, and now they're trying to take it back. What you should have seen here an hour ago. What a difference this hour has now made. An hour ago, the curfew had been in effect for half an hour, and we had seen still many people here milling in the streets, some of them openly challenging the police. The police held their lines, in some cases advanced towards some of the protesters and demonstrators who were out there in the streets. We saw tear gas being deployed. We saw smoke bombs being thrown. There is even a report of a fire that was set in a library. That, however, was extinguished rather quickly. But as you can see here now, just a matter of maybe 35 to 45 minutes later, the people here did listen to the orders to disperse, orders that were being issued by helicopters going around in the air. And now the streets are calm and quiet. The police, as a matter of fact, have even now begun to sort of stand down. Their shields have been lowered, and some of them have even been taking a seat. So it seems as though things have calmed down here. The only sounds you hear now is perhaps the errant chopper that may be in the air looking over the streets from above, and the dieseling engines that are standing behind us now, these tactical vehicles that'll be here throughout the night as this curfew is in place until 5 a.m. And then a whole new day in Baltimore begins. We'll see what happens then. We're back after this break.
So another nice day tomorrow?
Another pretty day. We'll have a nice mix of sun and clouds. Daytime highs around 70. Now Thursday, not so pretty. We're calling for clouds and periods of rain. That rain continues into midday Friday. By Friday afternoon, our skies clear. And look at the weekend. Looks fantastic. Lots of sunshine, 70 to 76 degrees. Tim Brandt, what are you going to do this weekend? Cold one, baby.
Can't wait to get to the weekend. We're ready for that. All right, thanks for joining us. Jimmy Kimmel Live is next. And stay with us for continuing coverage from Baltimore.